Ah, yes. So day 674 of absolutely demolishing Kansas City Chiefs propaganda. Let's start with one of my favorites right here. This guy wants everyone to forget that we saw Mahomes go through the toughest path to a Super Bowl, which included Josh Allen on one leg and win for the second year in a row. Meanwhile, Josh Allen is still waiting to win his first with two good legs. Interesting. It's so funny, the made up revisionist history that we really do have with these games. And with the help of JCT Slice, I'm also going to highlight two other paths that took place that were clearly harder than what Patrick Mahomes individually had to go through, because it's just comically hilarious. Please tell me in what universe was going up against the Miami Dolphins in just the brutal freezing weather at home a difficult path for the Kansas City Chiefs in phase 1 to go through. I would love to know, because I recall, and we know Nick Wright, super duper mega fan, was literally saying that the Miami Dolphins had zero chance. Usually when you go through a tough schedule, through a tough route, the other team has to have a chance. And no one in their right mind even remotely believed that Miami Dolphins team was going to be able to do anything with just even the foundational take that it was Tua in the cold, not to mention just this team not being good enough, not to mention that the Miami Dolphins were comically, hilariously, absurdly injured on defense, where throughout the broadcast, they're literally like, they signed guys off the street. This defense now is just practice squad guys and guys that they literally just had to pick up off the street. And that's some now winning this game where they score a whopping 7 points. 7 points. Tua threw for 20 for 39, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 63.9 passer rating. And they ran for a whopping 76 yards. That's a really tough path for Patrick Mahomes in game 1. You're correct. And to be clear, I'm going to be using a whole bunch of first things first clips here and Nick Wright. And it's not meant for like a gotcha for Nick Wright. This is just using literally the biggest Kansas City Chiefs fan who's going to give the most forgiving, heightened biased, as he admits, takes towards Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm just going to use it to go up against other Kansas City Chiefs fans. So it's just really kind of perfect. Plus, he is the one that planted this idea that the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes had the toughest Super Bowl path in the history of the NFL, which is just simply not true. And we're going to find out why.
To be asked foolish, silly questions like this one. Can chances Tua Tagovailoa outplays Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game? In a playoff game. And he abandoned his... What we have here is a guy who's never been in the playoffs, but when he's been in playoff adjacent scenarios, has played his worst football, and we can show you that. And he is going up against a guy who not only has been in the playoffs, and the reason those are playoff adjacent scenarios, I should say, Week 17, 2020 was a win and you're in. Week 17, 2021 was a win that week and the next week and you're in. Week 17 this year against Baltimore was for the 1 seed, and last week was, of course, for the 2 seed.
So it's so funny. It's so funny. Literally ripping Tua. First ever playoff game on the road. Freezing cold. Vintage Andy Reid with frozen mustache. People were losing limbs out there. That's how cold it was. Like literally like a year later, people were still suffering the consequences of how cold that game was. Nobody was expecting Tua and that Miami Dolphins team to do anything. So let's not have revisionist history there.
And I just don't think they're going to be able to get the pressure.
Right.
And the Chiefs, for the second straight year, have been one of the most effective teams in the league at sacking the opposing quarterbacks and getting pressure.
There's really no...
That defense has been pretty good for the last couple of years. So even in 2022, when people tried to act like the defense wasn't that good, 2023, obviously we know a pretty special defense. So weird. So very weird. But wait, there's more. What about Tyreek Hill?
In league history. He's one of the most dynamic players in league history. I think these conditions in particular, plus Tyreek already had an ankle injury. Tua threw him that hospital ball that seemed to result in the quad injury, which popped up on the injury report. He didn't fully practice all week. It's going to be tough conditions. So I don't think the conditions are, if you were somehow playing Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl in a dome in perfect weather, he'd be the scariest player on the field. I think in this game, he's as unscary, that's not the word, I apologize, as Tyreek Hill can be, which is still somewhat scary. But the point...
Yeah. Wasn't even scared of their number one weapon in Tyreek Hill. But I guess it's now apparently the toughest team, to beat. Interesting. Now, on to that Buffalo Bills team. What did Nick Wright have to say about this Buffalo Bills team last season, near the end of the season? Do you guys want to hear it? Let's hear it.
Is it to me foolish? And Brew, you seem to have the door open for them making the playoffs. Vegas gives them a 17% chance. The smart people at DVOA, Aaron Schatz and company, give them a 14% chance. I'm here to tell you it's a 0% chance. Because here's the reason people are giving them a chance is because they're like, well, if they win 5 straight. Guys, they're not a good enough team to win 5 straight.
They're not a good enough team. This team's not good enough. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. This team's not good enough. 0% chance to make the playoffs. But now that they beat them in the playoffs, this was an amazing team. This is one of the toughest roads I've ever seen. That's so weird. That's so weird. Should I also add that in that game, the Buffalo Bills were missing both their starting corners and their starting linebackers and a couple other miscellaneous players on defense? Does that matter? Dude, the injuries only matter when it's to the Kansas City Chiefs, because that's what I heard all season, especially last year. This past season, it was all about the injuries. And yet, when the Buffalo Bills have some injuries, it doesn't matter. It only matters when it's for something to do with Patrick Mahomes, but not against him. It's like, okay. Should we mention that too? No. I already unpacked that game and how that game unfolded in my other Kansas City, my other Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes game. But, missed field goals and dropped passes and, dropped 60-yard just beautiful balls to Diggs. We don't even have to talk about all that because we already did. But the Chiefs did win. Kudos to them. But Nick Wright said that this team literally was not good enough to even win 5 games in a row, and then there's 0% chance that they make the playoffs, that they're not a good team, that they're not a good team, that they're not a good team, and now they're an amazing team. Weird. He's out here showing you graphs of Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson, so that's a good one.
If we can quickly, Hubs, every time they've been in the playoffs, Coach, they've scored their season low in the playoffs with Lamar. And then you add to the fact that this team never gets rolled start to finish. It happens once every 37 games, 38 games once every 2.5 years it happens to them, except for the playoffs, it happens every year. That's all those things lead you to believe that something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And it'd be one thing, in my opinion, if this was just, people are talking about this game today as if it was the Patrick Mahomes masterclass. And I think Mahomes was awesome and made no mistakes. The Chiefs scored 17 points.
Yep.
Right.
The Chiefs scored 17 points. They held the Ravens to a whopping 10 points. Lamar Jackson, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 75.5 rating. They rushed for a total of 81 yards. Lamar fumbled. Zay Flowers fumbled. But it was all Patrick Mahomes and his 17 points. And now this is what JCT Slice said. Okay? Because I actually think probably the best run, which I'll talk about very quickly, but the Tampa Bay run with Tom Brady, who had to go up against the MVP of Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. Seems pretty hard. Against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints on the road. That seems pretty hard. against two literally all-time great quarterbacks in the NFL. Two all-time great quarterbacks in the NFL of all time. Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers in his prime in Lambeau. Tom Brady beats him. And then beats the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I mean, you just can't make it up because this is the quarterback that they say is so amazing that he's beaten other quarterbacks on one leg. And then now Tom Brady literally beats him in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl. You don't think it was harder, that run? Beating apparently a quarterback who chokes and plays awful in the playoffs. Beating a Buffalo Bills team that had all these injuries and was not even a good team in the first place, to the point that Nick didn't even think they were going to make the playoffs. And then against the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa's first time in the playoffs on the road, freezing cold, where their number one weapon in Tyreek Hill can't even be utilized because of the weather. Again, according to Nick Wright. That somehow is better than Tom Brady beating a great Packers team, a great Saints team, the literal Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes, the reigning Super Bowl champions. Come on. Really? Come on. And like I said, if you want to blame the O-line, you want to say, well, the O-line, the injuries, and this and that. But then you got to give it to the Buffalo Bills and their injuries. You got to give it to the Miami Dolphins and their injuries. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. And as JCT Slice said, another run I would add that was tougher than 2023 Kansas City was Eli's 2007 run. He beat a still tough Buccaneers defense in 2007 on the road that was very underrated, a Cowboys team in Dallas that had 13 Pro Bowlers back when Pro Bowl voting was more legitimate. Brett Favre and his 13-3 Packers in freezing cold Lambeau. Lambeau, again, we know is brutal to play in, where the wind chill was literally negative 15 degrees. And the undefeated Patriots, who were trying to go 19-0 on the year, pretty wild. The undefeated Patriots, with Tom Brady the GOAT. The 2023 Chiefs had nowhere close to the toughest path, especially when you consider that no one believed in Tua's and his haters didn't think Josh Allen and the Bills had a great year anyway. Exactly, which is all what I said. This is another both ways sort of thing that I don't like at all. Josh Allen and the Bills didn't have the great a year according to people like Nick Wright in 23, which I highlighted, where he literally gave them a C grade on the season. But at the same time, they had the toughest path facing someone like Josh Allen and the Bills. How does that make any sense? I don't know, JCT. I don't know. You're just a biased hater, apparently. That's why. Man, I do love this. I really do. This is fun. And the fact is, like, all these shows right now are off. Everyone's on vacation. Colin's on vacation. Nick's on vacation. Brew's on vacation. Wilds is on vacation. NFL Live's on vacation. Everyone's on vacation. I ain't on vacation. I'm getting to work here. And, I'm posting this video on the same day that I'm posting a video saying that I'd rather have Patrick Mahomes over prime Aaron Rodgers. So you can't call me a hater. But we got to stop with the nonsense. We got to stop with that nonsense. Patrick Mahomes had the toughest path to a Super Bowl, which is funny because that's what Nick Wright says. That's where people got this idea from. And yet, he literally, you can't have the toughest path if you give the other team zero chance at winning. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And you think Tua Tagovailoa cannot play in weather that's like 50 degrees. And this was like, we know how freezing cold that game was in Kansas City, how brutal it was. You held them to 7 points. You held Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens to 10 points. And then Nick Wright himself even said the Chiefs scored 17 points. But it was all Mahomes. And then you face, and I didn't even unpack this game because I don't got the strength, man, the 49ers and Brock Purdy, the quarterback that Nick Wright literally doesn't even believe is a top 15 quarterback. And thinks that that the 49ers shouldn't have even paid him this year. That he shouldn't have gotten any money. That he did not deserve the contract that he got. That's who he then beat. Who Greenlaw also got injured. But injuries only matter when they affect the Kansas City Chiefs. I got it. It's so hard to keep up with all these rules. This guy wants everyone to forget we saw Mahomes go through the toughest path to a Super Bowl. Oh, man, that's hilarious. That really is hilarious. Just doesn't make any sense. And it's funny because even that year, Tom Brady, and now it's weird because it wasn't a 17-game schedule yet. But the Bucks were not this great juggernaut of a team, and they didn't even win the division. And they beat for their playoffs, they had to beat a 14-win team, a 13-win team, and a 12-win team. Whereas with an extra game, the Chiefs had to beat a team that was 13 wins, 12 wins, 11 wins. So not quite the same. Not quite the same. And doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just doesn't. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Patrick Mahomes just having the toughest everything and just overcoming everything? Really, really inspiring. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.